Hi, good evening, everyone. This is Shubham on behalf of Daily GK Updates, and today we'll be starting with the revision of the international conflicts. And यहाँ पर we will cover a lot of the important international conflicts which are going on in the world right now, और आपके एग्जाम के लिए काफी important है. So to begin, go back to this slide. See this light green area connecting Armenia to Nagorno-Karabakh. This Lachin corridor is in Azerbaijan और लाचिन कॉरिडोर में एक सिटी है जिसका नाम लाचिन है. अब इस पे जो कंट्रोल अगर आर्मीनिया ने कर लिया तो फिर दे विल गेट एक्सेस टू नगोर्नो काराबाख. ठीक है, तो ये आपके लिए समझना बहुत रिकॉग्नाइज्ड एज अ पार्ट ऑफ अजरबैजान. हाउएवर द पीपल लिविंग इन द एरिया आर मोस्टली आर्मीनियंस. ओके, गॉट इट. सो अपार्ट फ्रॉम दिस एथनिसिटी भी बहुत बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है यहाँ पर. जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट रिलीजन ऑफ Armenians and Azeris, Armenians are prominently Christians and Azeris are prominently Muslims. अब Armenians के Christians होने का भी इनको काफी आप बोल सकते हो इनको भुगतना पड़ा था historically because they were surrounded on the other side by the Azeris who were Muslims, and on the other side, which is the western side, they were surrounded by Turkey. And Turkey historically was the Ottoman Empire, one of the largest empires of the world, and Islamic empires, obviously, and they were subjected to the Armenian genocide by the Ottoman Empire. Okay? So that makes Turkey a natural ally to Azerbaijan. ये आगे मैं आपको बताऊंगा. Yeah, actually, let me tell you right now here. Like this conflict also has its supporters. For example, India and Iran supports the cause of Armenia, and we actually entered with a tripartite agreement with Armenia and Iran, which was an extension of the international north-south transit corridor. आर्मीनिया में भी आईएनएसटीसी का एक पार्ट एंटर करेगा. आईएनएसटीसी मैं आपको ब्रीफ में बता दूं, इट इज एन इंटरनेशनल अग्रीमेंट बिटवीन ईरान, रशिया और इंडिया. ये इनिशियली इन तीनों कंट्रीज के बीच में साइन हुआ था टू बेसिकली मेक अ रूट स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम मुंबई, गोइंग टू चाबहार, going to the Caspian Sea, and then finally going to St. Petersburg, ठीक है, which is a port city in the North Sea. Okay, तो बहुत important project है ये, और Armenia might become a part of it. Now talking about places in Nagorno-Karabakh, दो बहुत important cities हैं यहाँ पर. First is Stepanakert, which is the capital of Nagorno-Karabakh Oblast. And the second city is Susa, which was the historical capital. So initially, Shusha was the administrative center of Nagorno-Karabakh. अब currently इसको Stepanakert कर दिया गया है. ठीक है. Apart from that, the president of the Artsakh, ठीक है, autonomous area, because they claim themselves as a independent nation, it's David Ishkhanian. And अभी बिल्कुल ये बिल्कुल freshly elected president है. And इस साल के स्टार्ट में नहीं, एक्चुअली सितंबर में समवेल शाहरमनियन का टर्म खत्म हो रहा है, एंड ही इज रिप्लेस्ड बाय दाविद इश्खानियन. ओके, अब नगोर्नो वर्ड का मैं आपको यहाँ पर डेरिवेशन दे रहा हूँ कि नगोर्नी इज अ वर्ड, ठीक है, जिसका मतलब होता है हाईलैंड. सो नगोर्नो काराबाख का लिटरल ट्रांसलेशन जो है इट्स हाई काराबाख, ठीक है, और अपर काराबाख. गॉट इट. सो दैट्स द नगोर्नो काराबाख रीजन. नाउ कमिंग टू द टेरिटरी ऑफ अजरबैजान एंड आर्मीनिया, दोनों कंट्रीज के बारे में भी हम थोड़ी यहाँ बात कर लेते हैं. अजरबैजान की जब हम बात करते हैं तो अजरबैजान इज अ कंट्री इन एशिया जो रशिया, जॉर्जिया, आर्मीनिया और इजराइल से बॉर्डर है, सॉरी ईरान से बॉर्डर्ड है. ओके, सो ईरान एट द साउथ, जॉर्जिया, रशिया एट द नॉर्थ एंड आर्मीनिया एट द वेस्ट. ईस्टर्न साइड से पूरी तरह ये कंट्री कैस्पियन सी से बॉर्डर्ड है. ओके, And I had told you Caucasus Mountain Azerbaijan में भी आते हैं, और नॉर्थ और वेस्ट आर कवर्ड बाय द Caucasus Mountain. अजरबैजान की जो कैपिटल है इट्स बाकू, एंड गोइंग थोड़ा सा डेविएटिंग फ्रॉम इंटरनेशनल टू स्पोर्ट, बाकू ग्रांड प्री इज वन ऑफ द prominent F1 races of the F1 calendar. If you know the answer of who the winner of the Baku Grand Prix or the Azerbaijan Grand Prix is, please mention in the comment section below. Okay, and it is an important question because it is an anomaly अगर आप इस साल के F1 के रिजल्ट्स देखोगे तो. Now coming to political heads, the president of Azerbaijan is Ilham Aliyev and prime minister is Ali Asadov. So if you just remember कि president और PM दोनों के नाम में there's the word Ali, that will help you remember. Okay, so दोनों के नाम में Ali है. Okay, that might help you to remember if there are 4 options given by CLAT, right? Next, very important fact, Azerbaijan also has a nickname of land of fire, and this nickname it gets from a location in Azerbaijan. It's a site in Azerbaijan called Yanardagh. Yanardagh jo hai, it's a very important site because I should also tell you Azerbaijan is very rich in natural resources, and specifically we are talking about oil and natural gas. And because of that, there is a place near the Caspian Sea and near the eastern Azerbaijan border, jahan se natural gas leak ho rahi hai, and it has caught fire, and it has resulted into a fire which has been burning since the past 65 years. And because of this fire, and that site is all actually known as Yanardagh, and because of this Yanardagh site, it has gotten its nickname of land of fire. On the other hand, जब हम आर्मीनिया की बात करते हैं, very very important, Armenia doesn't share a border with Russia. ये याद रखिएगा. You might be confused कि दोनों countries जब USSR की पार्ट थी तो दोनों रशिया के साथ बॉर्डर शेयर करेंगी, but this is not true. Armenia does not share a border with Russia. It shares the border on the other hand with Turkey. हम बता चुके हैं, हम इसकी बात कर चुके हैं, ठीक है. जॉर्जिया अगेन अ कॉमन बॉर्डर कंट्री, दोनों से बॉर्डर शेयर करती है जॉर्जिया, ठीक है. एंड अजरबैजान, तो ईरान और रशिया नहीं करते आर्मीनिया के साथ बॉर्डर शेयर. कैपिटल इज कॉल्ड येरेवान, प्रेसिडेंट इज वहागन काचातुर्यान एंड पीएम इज निकोल पाशिनियान. तो अब इसको याद करने का तरीका क्या है? जस्ट रिमेंबर दोनों के नाम के एंड में यान है, एंड यू कैन सी अ हिंदी वर्ड हियर चतुर, ठीक है. एंड यू कैन यूज दिस manner, or this basically you can say a small hack to remember difficult names, right? So दोनों के नाम के एंड में यान है. When we talk about Armenia, Azerbaijan के दोनों के नाम में अली है. Okay, now going to the conflict. Now how this conflict started, कैसे ये पूरी की पूरी बहुत जरूरी है. तो हुआ क्या that अजरबैजान की सबसे बड़ी भूल थी लाचिन कॉरिडोर को अच्छे से प्रोटेक्ट ना करना, एंड आर्मीनिया टुक एडवांटेज ऑफ दिस, took control of the Lachin corridor, and Lachin corridor के आसपास के भी काफी सारे अजरबैजानी टेरिटरी पे भी आर्मीनिया ने कंट्रोल एक्सरसाइज कर लिया. अब यहां पर रशिया को इंटरवीन करना पड़ा. रशिया कॉल्ड बोथ ऑफ द लीडर्स एंड द लीडर ऑफ आर्टसाक टू बिश्केक. ओके, एंड बिश्केक प्रोटोकॉल साइन हुआ. अ सीज फायर्स वर ब्रोकर्ड बाय रशिया, ठीक है. नगोर्नो काराबाख को वापस एक डिफैक्टो इंडिपेंडेंट टेरिटरी का स्टेटस दिया गया. स्टेपानाकर्ट में एक गवर्नमेंट स्टैब्लिश की गई, ठीक है. एंड काफी सारे टेरिटरीज जो थे अजरबैजान को रिटर्न कर दिए गए, बट स्टिल 9% अजरबैजानी टेरिटरी आर्मीनियन के पास रही. और इस पॉइंट के बाद बिश्केक प्रोटोकॉल के कारण एक 26 ईयर का पीस यहां पर इस एरिया में देखा गया, बारिंग स्मॉल skirmishes, right? What triggered the current revolt was Azerbaijan ambition to take control back, okay, because obviously the wounds of the first Nagorno-Karabakh were not healed. So 2020 में Azerbaijan launched the second Karabakh war, and यहाँ पर 26 साल में अजरबैजान ने अपनी नेचुरल रिसोर्सेस को रियलाइज कर लिया था, ठीक है. ऑयल एंड नेचुरल गैस से बहुत एडवांटेज मिला था अजरबैजान को. इकोनॉमी काफी ज्यादा बूम करी थी और इनकी आर्मी ज्यादा स्ट्रांग हो चुकी थी. सो दे टुक एन एडवांटेज ऑफ दिस सिचुएशन एंड दे attacked Armenia to get back those territories and also the area of Nagorno-Karabakh, and they were successful in doing so. Nagorno-Karabakh के 1/3 एरिया पे कंट्रोल ले लिया. 1/3 एरिया पे तो कंट्रोल ले ही लिया इन्होंने. उसके अलावा दे टुक 7 डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स सराउंडिंग द Nagorno-Karabakh रीजन. यहाँ फिर से रशिया को इंटरवीन करना पड़ा. थ्रू ओएससी। ओएससी की बात हम करेंगे जब हम रशिया यूक्रेन करेंगे। इट्स एन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, ठीक है, स्पीयर हेडेड बाय रशिया इनिशियली, एंड ओएससी हैड टू ब्रोकर दिस पीस डील, एंड यहाँ पर रशिया का बहुत बड़ा रोल था। यहाँ भी पॉज रशिया ही लेकर आई, और रशिया ने एक एक्स्ट्रा स्टेप लिया कि नगोर्नो काराबाख रीजन में ऑलमोस्ट 2000 पीस कीपर्स को स्टेशन कर दिया। सो 2020 में अ पॉज वाज ऑब्जर्व्ड। रशिया थॉट सिचुएशन अंडर कंट्रोल है। रशिया ने जैसे ही अपने पीस कीपर्स वापस बुलाए, 2022 में जो लाचिन कॉरिडोर है, विच वाज द ओनली पॉइंट ऑफ आर्मेनियंस एक्सेस टू नगोर्नो काराबाख रीजन और आर्टसाक रीजन, उस कॉरिडोर को अजरबैजान ने ब्लॉक कर दिया। आर्मेनिया से पूरी तरह एक्सेस छीन लिया गया यहाँ पर, एंड दैट क्रिएटेड शॉर्टेजेस ऑफ फूड, फ्यूल एंड वाटर। A lot of people died because of this crisis. यहाँ पर फिर रशिया को इंटरवीन करना पड़ा, ओएससी को भी इंटरवीन करना पड़ा, एंड अजरबैजान हैड टू अग्री टू रीओपन द लाचिन कॉरिडोर ताकि मेडिसिन एंड फूड एंड वाटर पहुंच सके इस टेरिटरी में। बट इस पॉइंट के बाद अजरबैजान ने बोला कि जितने भी सेपरेटिस्ट मूवमेंट्स हैं नगोर्नो काराबाख टेरिटरीज में, we will suppress all of those, and that led to Azerbaijan launching an anti-terrorist offensive, and that became one of the excuses of how Azerbaijan took control of the entire Nagorno-Karabakh. De facto control was able to gain. 2023 में हम जब आते हैं, आपको पता है कि अभी भी एक मिलिट्री ऑपरेशन लॉन्च किया गया है अगेन to suppress any kind of separatist tendencies, ठीक है, and that has resulted into a lot of deaths. अगर हम अभी बात करें, more than 13 to 1400 people have died since 2022 due to this second Karabakh war. 1.25 lakh Armenians have fled Nagorno-Karabakh region since 2020, and this is a conflict which has not stopped yet. Okay, now, so the next topic now we'll start with is obviously the Russia and Ukraine war, the much talked about war, and this map actually shows the current condition of the entire war. And इसमें आपको पता होना चाहिए कि this red area is the area which has been captured by Russia or is under controlled by Russia as of November 2023. Okay, so Crimea, Kherson, Zaporizhia, Donetsk, Luhansk, these are the 4 provinces apart from Crimea which have been mostly under control of Russia right now. And under those places we have some important strategic cities जो काफी न्यूज में भी आए हैं. So for example, you have Bakhmut, you have Severodonetsk, you have Mariupol, ठीक है. Zaporizhia in itself is a very important city as well because you have the largest nuclear power plant of Europe here, and just last year it was subjected to a very heavy shelling, and both the countries accused कि नहीं हमने shelling नहीं करी, रशिया ने करी है. रशिया said नहीं हमने नहीं करी. This is Ukraine's effort to blame Russia for this. Okay, got it. So if you see at the geography, you'll find Chernobyl here. You know the Chernobyl disaster which happened in the presidency of Gorbachev, and यहाँ से आपकी सबसे important river जो है कीव की, यूक्रेन की स्टार्ट होती है, which is called the river Dnieper, Dnieper, and this river goes from here, ठीक है. Kyiv is situated on the bank of river Dnieper. Dnipro is a city which is also situated on the river Dnieper. Okay, you have the Nova Kakhovka dam on this as well. You have Zaporizhia situated on this bank, and then this river goes into the Sea of Azov. Okay, अब 2-3 चीज और important है, जैसे for example Odessa is a very important port city, and we'll get to know कि Odessa was the port city which is had contributed to the Black Sea Grain Initiative as well for transportation of a lot of wheat and food grains to the rest of the world. After both the countries agreed that it should be done and their war shouldn't affect the world's demand for food. Okay, so moving on. So when we talk about Ukraine के बारे में 2-3 चीजें आपको बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है जानना, बेसिक चीजें हैं. It is the second largest country of Europe by area, ठीक है, and is the 8th populous country in Europe. Okay. बॉर्डर की जब हम बात करते हैं, रशिया इज द ईस्ट, नॉर्थ में बेलारूस है, ठीक है. बेलारूस कैपिटल इज मिन्स्क. मिन्स्क अभी आपको आगे दिखेगा बिकॉज ऑफ वन ऑफ द वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट सीज फायर अग्रीमेंट्स. यू हैव पोलैंड, स्लोवाकिया, हंगरी, रोमेनिया एंड मोल्डोवा इन वेस्ट. साउथ में पूरी तरह ब्लैक सी यूक्रेन के बॉर्डर को कवर करती है, ठीक है. अब जब हम हिस्ट्री की बात करते हैं, आपको पता होना चाहिए यूक्रेन पे काफी सारे टेरिटरीज ने रूल किया है. Ottoman Empire was one of the earliest empire to rule on Ukraine. After that, Russian Empire ruled on Ukraine, and then Ukraine became a part of the Soviet Union. It became independent in 1991 after the Soviet Union got disintegrated. ठीक है. दो बहुत important revolution और movements हुए थे after its independence. First is called the Orange Revolution. तो आपको पता होना चाहिए कि Orange Revolution का mention किस कंट्री के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में होता है. सो 2004 में प्रेसिडेंशियल इलेक्शन हुए थे, तो बिकॉज ऑफ द इलेक्शंस, ठीक है, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अमेंडमेंट्स हुई थी बहुत सारी, ठीक है. those constitutional amendments were not acceptable to the people of Ukraine, so a series of protests and civil unrest happened. It was oppressed, but then it was followed by another movement called the Euromaidan movement, ठीक है, of 2014. और उस टाइम पे प्रेसिडेंट जो थे यूक्रेन के, he was Viktor Yanukovych, and against him protests happened, ठीक है, Euromaidan में movement बोलते हैं जिसको. And this was basically a result of Ukraine losing Crimea also, okay, and that basically restored the 2004 constitutional amendment, जिसके कारण ऑरेंज रेवोल्यूशन हुआ था. तो ये दो मूवमेंट और रेवोल्यूशंस के नाम बस याद रख लेना आप, ठीक है, कि व्हाट कॉन्टेक्स्ट आर दे इंपॉर्टेंट. सो इफ आई आस्क यू ऑरेंज रेवोल्यूशन, यू शुड रिमेंबर ओके यूक्रेन. इफ आई आस्क यू यूरोमेडन रेवोल्यूशन, you should know okay Ukraine, ठीक है. So let's talk about the Crimean annexation. To begin with, the history of Crimea is a bit dicey, and this is why it was a point of contention between both of the countries. When we talk about the 18th century, Crimea was actually annexed by the Russian Empire, and it was given the status of an autonomous region, जिसको oblast भी बोलते हैं. So oblast is name of the autonomous regions designated by Russia. So they are very similar to what we know as states. Okay, so Crimea was annexed by a Russian Empire, but in 1954, the president Nikita Khrushchev, actually, who was Ukrainian by birth, and आपको पता है Ukraine was part of the USSR, Soviet Union. So he became the president, and then he decided to transfer Crimea to Ukraine. Okay, ठीक है, because of the physical location and you can say it is connected to Ukraine directly as it's connected to Russia. However, this transfer has been disputed since then. A lot of people say that this transfer cannot be done and it is still part of Russia, ठीक है. And that entire dispute became the basis of the entire revolution in Crimea. So a lot of pro-Russia people started asking for secession to Russia in Crimea, ठीक है. But this were not a lot of population, but this gave Russia an excuse to send troops there. First of all, तो उन्होंने क्या किया, उन्होंने troops भेज दिए क्राइमिया पे. And second, they started going door to door and conducted a referendum in Crimea. And they said, this is the claim of Russia, that majority of the population of Crimea wants to be with Russia. And they said that the number is more than 90%. And by giving this excuse, Russia annexed Crimea. And obviously, Ukraine tried to fight this war, but it wasn't able to. Okay? तो ये चीज याद रखिएगा. And obviously, the fight broke down. Okay. However, after the fight could go very serious, very, very damaging, both the countries were called to the table by an organization called OSCE, Organization for Security and Control in Europe. ठीक है. We'll talk about this in just a second. So you need to remember कि OSCE, ठीक है, called both of the countries to Belarus, and specifically talking about the capital of Belarus, which is Minsk. Okay, ठीक है. तो मिन्स्क वन अग्रीमेंट हुआ, मिन्स्क प्रोटोकॉल साइन हुआ इन दोनों कंट्रीज के बीच में, एंड both the countries agreed to a ceasefire, and 12 points were agreed with regards to ceasefire. ठीक है? And this was signed, but however, the ceasefire was not very strongly followed by both of the countries. Okay, what happened actually that there was still skirmishes going on. Okay, so this ceasefire was not seen as a ceasefire which affected a lot of peace. So next year another ceasefire was followed, and it was called the Minsk Protocol Part 2, or Minsk Second Protocol. And यहाँ पर you saw an entry of France and Germany as guarantors. Basically, they also signed the Minsk 2 protocol, saying if any of you break this protocol or disobey this ceasefire agreement, you will face consequences from us also. Okay, but as you know, it has been broken. Okay, and Russia has attacked the territory of or country of Ukraine. Let's talk about OSCE. So, Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, it is the largest security integrated organization in the world, and it is an observer of the UN. It is based in Vienna, Austria, and has 57 countries as members, और members जो हैं Asian members भी हैं, ठीक है, जैसे for example Georgia, Turkey, these are also members. Europe obviously है, your North America में you have members like US, Canada. India is not a member of OSCE, ये याद रखिएगा बस. The current head, the current chair, the जो chairship है OSCE की, वो country by country rotate होते रहती है. So every time the country gets the chairmanship, the external affairs minister or the foreign secretary or whatever country designates, उस country का designated member becomes the chair of OSCE. Right now, the chairmanship is with North Macedonia, and the representative of North Macedonia holding the chair is Bujar Osmani. ठीक है? But ये याद रखो, OSCE ना हमेशा से नहीं, OSCE नहीं थी. So there was a Council for Security and Cooperation in Europe, CSC, which was formed in 1975 in Helsinki. ठीक है? And it was later renamed as OSCE in 1994 when the Budapest summit happened of CSC. ठीक है? तो CSC was the predecessor of OSCE. CSC 1975 में बना था हेलसिंकी में, और उसके बाद 1994 में CSC को OSCE की तरफ रीनेम कर दिया गया, and it was done in the Budapest summit. Got it? Now we can talk about how the war started of Russia and Ukraine. So I told you that the Donetsk and Luhansk Oblast, जिसको हम combined Donbas region के नाम से जानते हैं. So Donbas region combines two states or two oblasts of Ukraine, Donetsk and Luhansk. ठीक है? And यहाँ पर pro Russian separatist movement 2014 के बाद से start हो गए थे. ठीक है? I had told you, and that basically triggered the war in Feb 24. ठीक है? 2021. जैसे ही ये war start हुआ, it started in a full-fledged manner. India became alert. Ministry of External Affairs and Indian Air Force ने यहाँ पर अपने they joined hands and they launched the Operation Ganga to bring back all the Indians to India. But that's also started with first Indians who were moved to the neighboring countries of Moldova, Poland, Hungary. ठीक है? और फिर वहां से उनको इंडिया लाया गया. So more than 220,000 Indians were relocated from Ukraine to neighboring countries and then slowly back to India. This was Operation Ganga. अब जैसे ये वॉर स्टार्ट हुआ, यूक्रेन को बहुत सारे सैंक्शंस झेलने पड़े, एंड वन ऑफ द बिगेस्ट सैंक्शंस इम्पोज्ड ऑन यूक्रेन बोल रहा हूं मैं, रशिया. एक्चुअली रशिया को बहुत सारे सैंक्शंस झेलने पड़े, एंड वन ऑफ द वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट सैंक्शंस रशिया फेस्ड वाज ban from SWIFT. And SWIFT का फुल फॉर्म याद रखिएगा, इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फ्रॉम द एग्जामिनेशन पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू. सोसाइटी फॉर वर्ल्ड वाइड इंटरबैंक फाइनेंशियल टेलीकम्युनिकेशन is the full form of SWIFT. It's an organization established in 1973. It's headquartered in Brussels, which is the capital of Belgium. And it is an organization which provides a trusted messaging platform for all the banks of over 200 countries. SWIFT के जो नेटवर्क हैं उसमें 11,000 से ज्यादा बैंक्स कनेक्टेड हैं एक दूसरे से. So if you have to do any kind of international transaction between one bank to another, you just use SWIFT to relay the transaction को बताने के लिए कि there's a transaction from my bank to your bank and that other bank is situated in some other country. तो आप बस transaction inform कर दोगे so that the other bank can confirm that transaction and transaction बहुत easily हो जाए. ठीक है, swift transaction हो जाए after you have confirmed the transaction being done. So it's very very important, it's a very important service because without swift बहुत सारे इंटरनेशनल ट्रांजैक्शंस नहीं होंगे और आपकी इंटरनेशनल ट्रेड जो है वो बहुत सीवियरली इंपैक्ट होती है. ओके, इंडिया के भी फाइनेंशियल सिस्टम जो है वो स्विफ्ट में इंटीग्रेटेड है, बट जो स्विफ्ट है उसको केवल 11 इंडस्ट्रियल कंट्रीज के सेंट्रल बैंक्स ओवरसी करते हैं. ठीक है, एंड दीज 11 कंट्रीज आर कनाडा, फ्रांस, जर्मनी, इटली, जापान, नेदरलैंड्स, स्वीडन, स्विट्जरलैंड, यूके, यूएस एंड ऑब्वियसली बेल्जियम. ठीक है, सो 11 कंट्रीज के सेंट्रल बैंक्स स्विफ्ट को गवर्न करते हैं, बट स्विफ्ट का एक्सेस 200 से ऊपर कंट्रीज के पास है और 11,000 बैंक स्विफ्ट नेटवर्क से कनेक्टेड है. रशिया हैज बीन बैंड फ्रॉम दिस. सेकेंड वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट इंसिडेंट was the Nord Stream pipeline, which was bursted and it was accused कि रशिया ने इन पाइपलाइंस पे एक्सप्लोजन्स डेटोनेट किए हैं. एंड आफ्टर दैट 2022 से ये पाइपलाइन शट हो गई हैं. So one pipeline is functional right now. Second pipeline was under construction. ठीक है, but the construction was stopped due to the war. Okay, रशिया ने कंस्ट्रक्शन दूसरे पाइपलाइन का स्टॉप कर दिया है. So let's explore what is exactly Nord Stream. So Nord Stream जो है, it is a natural gas pipeline. It runs under the Baltic Sea. It connects Russia with Germany. Okay. सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट चीज आपको याद रखनी है, नॉर्ड स्ट्रीम 1 फर्स्ट पाइपलाइन केवल ऑपरेटिव थी और वो भी बंद हो चुकी है, वो भी पॉज हो चुकी है. नॉर्ड स्ट्रीम 2 तो बनी नहीं है अभी तक. नॉर्ड स्ट्रीम 1 में एक्सप्लोजन हुआ था. नॉर्ड स्ट्रीम 1 2011 में कंप्लीट हुई थी. ठीक है, सेकंड नॉर्ड स्ट्रीम पाइपलाइन जो है वो 2012 में स्टार्ट हुई है. इट हैज नॉट कंप्लीटेड येट, अभी ऑपरेशनल नहीं हुई है पूरी तरह. एंड नॉर्ड स्ट्रीम 1 की जब हम बात करते हैं, इट्स अ 1224 किलोमीटर पाइपलाइन. वाइबॉर्ग इज अ सिटी इन रशिया. ठीक है, वहां से स्टार्ट होती है और लुब्मिन विच इज अ म्युनिसिपैलिटी, अ स्मॉल टाउन इन जर्मनी विच इज नियर अनदर वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट सिटी ऑफ जर्मनी कॉल्ड ग्रीफ्सवाल्ड. ग्रीफ्सवाल्ड के बाद एक छोटी सी टाउन है लुब्मिन, वहां पर आके खत्म होती है. नॉर्ड स्ट्रीम 2 जो अंडर कंस्ट्रक्शन है उसकी अगर हम बात करें, वो ऊस्ट लुगा से स्टार्ट होती है विच इज अ स्मॉल टाउन नियर लेनिनग्राड, अनदर वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट सिटी ऑफ रशिया. And it also comes to Lubmin, which is another also near Greifswald. So हो क्या रहा है, दो जगह से रशिया से पाइपलाइंस आ रही हैं और सेम जगह जर्मनी में दोनों आप पहुंच रही हैं. ओके, करंट कैपेसिटी ऑफ नॉर्ड स्ट्रीम 1 इज 55 बिलियन क्यूबिक मीटर्स ऑफ गैस पर ईयर. सेकेंड की भी सेम कैपेसिटी है. सो आफ्टर द नॉर्ड स्ट्रीम 2 also starts operating, the total capacity will be 110 billion cubic meters of gas per year. Okay, so Europe is very reliant, especially Germany, France, जब हम बेल्जियम, नेदरलैंड्स इन कंट्रीज की बात करते हैं, रशियन नेचुरल गैस पे ये कंट्रीज स्पेशली ड्यूरिंग द विंटर्स आर वेरी रिलायंट. ओके, ठीक है, अब हम चलते हैं दूसरे टॉपिक की तरफ, विच इज अनदर वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट ऑफ द वॉर एंड द वैगनर कंपनी वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट. सो यू नो हाउ वैगनर was a very crucial part of the war, but it ended up becoming an adversary to Russia, and that resulted also in death of Yevgeny Prigozhin. Okay, Now, talking about Wagner, the group leader was Yevgeny Prigozhin, okay? And a very important and interesting crisis happened where Russia के defense ministry को Yevgeny Prigozhin ने accuse किया था that they have ordered airstrike against the forces of Wagner, okay? And they have also seized the military district headquarters in Rostov-on-Don. और ये जो मिलिट्री डिस्ट्रिक्ट हेडक्वार्टर है ये वैगनर के हेडक्वार्टर है रोस्टोव ऑन डॉन में. इनको सीज कर लिया है रशिया ने, क्योंकि येवगेनी प्रिगोजिन का एक्यूजेशन था. येवगेनी प्रिगोजिन के बारे में आपको बता दूं, ठीक है, ही वाज अ शेफ, पर्सनल शेफ ऑफ Vladimir Putin. He was a very trusted individual of Vladimir Putin, and he has become a very important uh, oligarch in Russian history actually, and he also owns the Concorde. Concorde is a very important jet company if you don't know about it. And apart from Wagner, Concorde ke bhi, he was the founder. Okay. He is also a recipient of the Hero of the Russian Federation. Basically, jiska nickname Hero of Russia hai. So there's an honor in Russia called Hero of Russia. It's the highest honorary title given to a person for the services towards the state of Russia. Okay? And it's a gold star, a ribbon with a gold star. Okay. So after this accusation was made, Wagner forces started a march of justice towards Moscow, and that led to a lot of clashes with the Russian army, and a lot of damages happened. A lot of people also died, and this march of justice was commenced in June 23rd, 2023. After that, Wagner के काफी लोगों को अरेस्ट किया गया था. Okay, Putin had also called Yevgeny Prigozhin an enemy of the state, and obviously, then after that, the settlement was reached where Prigozhin decided to move Wagner forces to Belarus. Okay, and he was operating from Belarus. However, in the month of August, on 23rd August to be precise, he, along with 9 other people, died in a plane crash near Kuzenkino, which is situated in north of Moscow. And he has been now succeeded with a 25-year-old son of his named Pavel Prigozhin. So Pavel Prigozhin is now the group leader of Wagner private military company, a 25-year-old kid. ठीक है, छोटा सा इंफॉर्मेशन वैगनर ग्रुप के बारे में 2014 में स्टैब्लिश हुआ था. 50,000 से ज्यादा मर्सनरीज हैं इनके पास, एंड दे आल्सो हैव हायर्ड अ लॉट ऑफ एक्स प्रिजनर्स, एंड दे हैव एस्टैब्लिश्ड देयर मर्सनरीज अराउंड द वर्ल्ड, स्पेशली इन द कॉन्फ्लिक्ट जोन. और इनका काफी प्रोमिनेंट प्रेजेंस मिडिल ईस्ट और अफ्रीका में भी है, एंड इवन इन लैटिन अमेरिका, स्पेशली इन कंट्रीज लाइक कोलंबिया, वेनेजुएला. अफ्रीका में देयर प्रेजेंस इज आल्सो इन साहिल स्टेट्स लाइक नाइजर, ठीक है, बुर्किना फासो. ओके, एंड मिडिल ईस्ट में ऑब्वियसली कंट्रीज लाइक योर पैलेस्टीन में इनका प्रेजेंस हुआ करता था पहले, अभी सीरिया में काफी प्रेजेंस है. ठीक है, सो दे हैव प्रेजेंस ऑल ओवर द वर्ल्ड. नाउ कमिंग टू नेक्स्ट वेरी, सो नाउ लेट्स टॉक अबाउट द न्यू स्टार्ट ट्रीटी. सो न्यू स्टार्ट ट्रीटी, when we talk about New Start Treaty, you should know the predecessors to the New Start Treaty, right? And very, very importantly, you need to know that before the New Start Treaty came into picture, you had something called SALT, which was a formal dialogue started between the two countries since 1969 to bring down the number of arms. ठीक है, बिकॉज इट वॉज एन एरा ऑफ द कोल्ड वॉर, और यहाँ पर दोनों कंट्रीज के बीच में आर्म्स रेस स्टार्ट हो चुकी थी. सो इट वॉज द फर्स्ट इनिशिएशन वेयर दे अग्रीड कि वी विल ट्राई टू इनकलकेट सिक्योरिटी बिटवीन अस, ठीक है, ट्रस्ट बिटवीन अस, ताकि कोई न्यूक्लियर वॉर या किसी भी तरह का वॉरफेयर ना स्टार्ट हो जाए दोनों कंट्रीज के बीच में. सो सॉल्ट वॉज द फर्स्ट dialogue platform called the Strategic Arms Limitation Talks, started in 1969. Okay, but after SALT, we saw that a START 1 treaty was also signed between the two countries, and mostly the initiative of Mikhail Gorbachev, who was responsible for a lot of things in Russia. So, for example, Talking about Mikhail Gorbachev, ठीक है, he was the president who was more inclined towards inculcating some characteristics of capitalism in the communist country of Russia. And for that, he brought two reforms called perestroika and glasnost. ठीक है, perestroika and glasnost are economic and political reforms which were introduced by Mikhail Gorbachev. Okay. After that, okay, he also was responsible for initiating the START 1 treaty, Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, which focused on nuclear reductions, nuclear weapons ke reductions, and that brought down the end of Cold War also. So Mikhail Gorbachev is credited very much for ending the Cold War, and he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize as well for the same. Okay, can you tell me which year he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize? If you know that, please mention in the comment section below. And he is in news. We are talking about him because he has also recently passed away, and very famously, he was replaced by Boris Yeltsin, and more famously, Putin denied any state service for the former president. Okay, so START 1 treaty के लिए responsible था, ठीक है, which expired in 2009, and now after START 1 treaty expired, both the countries worked on a new START treaty, which was signed in 2010, just 1 year after START 1 expired, and new START treaty was signed by Barack Obama and Dmitry Medvedev, who was the previous president of Russia. It came into force in February 2011, and the time period was 10 years, but it was then again extended for 5 years. However, the extension is for 5 years, so it should last till 2026. But what has happened? Russia has withdrawn itself from the New START treaty in the lieu of the war. ठीक है, New START treaty के details आप देख लीजिए, that both countries cannot deploy more than 1550 nuclear warheads, 700 long-range missiles and bombers, 800 launchers and delivery vehicles. This is the limit. Apart from that, short notice inspections के भी provisions थे, and 19 short notice inspections can be done annually on the nuclear weapon sites. ठीक है, the short notice inspection का मतलब 32 घंटे का नोटिस देंगे आपको बस, ठीक है, and this will be done to check that the other country has weapons within the limit. Okay, and data will be exchanged twice between both of them. Okay, twice a year, and they will have to send notification to each other if anything has been changed in the stockpiles. However, also it's very very important to know that ki due to COVID, जो short notice inspection hai, the 19 short notice inspection, they were on hold since 2020 because of COVID, and after the war started, they were obviously on hold, and then after that, Russia has now suspended the entire function of New START treaty. The least important subtopic, actually one of the more important subtopics, is the Black Sea Grain Initiative, which was brokered by the help of UN and Turkey. Okay, in July 2022, both the countries had signed a deal because जैसा कि आपको पता है, Russia and Ukraine are one of the largest exporters of wheat, sunflower seeds, and even fertilizers. And especially wheat पे बहुत ज्यादा impact पड़ा था इस war का, and especially Pakistan had suffered a lot because of Ukraine and Russia war. And a lot of grain was lying around on Ukrainian ports like Odessa, Chornomorsk, and Yuzhny, जिसको पिपदेनी भी बोला जाता है, पिपदेनी और यूजनी. ये 3 पोर्ट्स में काफी सारे wheat और oil seeds के consignments पड़े हुए थे. So an agreement was reached. Because of your war, a lot of countries are having food shortages. So please do continue fighting if you want, but don't let people die of hunger. Yeah, and that basically led to the Black Sea Grain Initiative. ठीक है, so the deal was कि ये 3 यूक्रेनियन पोर्ट्स जो हैं, ओडेसा, चॉर्नोमोर्स्क एंड पिपदेनी और यूजनी, ठीक है, cargo ships will be allowed to take the grains out of these ports to the rest of the world after inspection की cargo ships जो आ रहे हैं या जा रहे हैं उन पे कहीं weapons तो नहीं है. ठीक है, and this inspection will be done by obviously Turkey as a neutral party. Okay, और इस इंस्पेक्शन में यूक्रेन और रशिया की भी मिलिट्री शामिल होगी. Turkey will be acting as a middleman. The safe passage of the Black Sea is 310 nautical miles long and 3 nautical miles wide. ठीक है, so इस context में you also need to know कि what is the passage if you want to go let's say to US. ठीक है, अगर आपको यूक्रेन से wheat US भेजना है तो आप कैसे जाओगे? So first you will get into the Black Sea. Black Sea से you will then get into the transit wala part. So you will go into this route. Okay, the 310 nautical miles long route पे आप निकलोगे. First you have dived into the Black Sea. Okay, so मान लो if your port is Mariupol, but आपको पता है कि Mariupol और Melitopol ports जो हैं वो यूएस के कंट्रोल में है, तो पोर्ट स्ट्रेट आप पूरा अवॉइड कर दोगे. अब क्या करोगे आप? मान लो ओडेसा से आप लेकर आ रहे हो, so you will go towards Istanbul, which is not the capital of Turkey, by the way. Turkey's capital is Ankara. यही चीज याद रखिएगा. ठीक है, so you will first go near Istanbul, and then through Istanbul you will get a strait. Okay, and you will go into the strait. I'm forgetting the name of the strait, just give me a second. Okay, yeah, so you will go into the Black Sea from Odessa, and from Black Sea you will go towards Istanbul. Istanbul में you will find the Dardanelles, Bosphorus Strait, BOSPHORUS. Bosphorus Strait को क्रॉस करते आप सी ऑफ मार्मरा में एंटर करोगे. फिर सी ऑफ मार्मरा से you will go further west, and वहां पर you will find the Dardanelles Strait. Dardanelles Strait से आप जब निकलोगे, you will go into the Aegean Sea, which is near Greece. Aegean Sea is basically a sea which opens to the Mediterranean Sea. So you are now into the Mediterranean Sea, which is basically the south of Europe and north of Africa. So when you go west in the Mediterranean Sea, you will find a small strait again, which is known as the Strait of Gibraltar. If you cross the Strait of Gibraltar, you will reach the Atlantic Ocean, after which you can go to US. ठीक है, this is the entire route. Okay, so ये चीज आप याद रखिएगा. अब मैं आपको एक और चीज बता दूं ब्लैक सी ग्रेन इनिशिएटिव के बारे में कि इस पॉइंट के बाद इसको 2 बार एक्सटेंड कर दिया गया था, बट नाउ रशिया हैज सेड कि देयर विल नॉट बी अ थर्ड एक्सटेंशन. सो इट एक्सपायर्ड this year in July 17, and Russia has said there won't be a third extension to it. Okay, so another crisis has basically now come on the surface that Ukraine cannot supply more grains. Coming on to the next very important conflict, which is the Israel and Palestine conflict. Okay, so you need to look at the map and you need to figure out 3 very important areas. So there's the West Bank. West Bank का नाम West Bank क्यों है? Because it's on the western bank of the Jordan River. Okay, Jordan River falls into the Dead Sea. So this black boundary is the Jordan River. कि west पे West Bank है, इसलिए इसका नाम West Bank है. You have the Gaza Strip here, and you have the Golan Heights here. Golan Heights is the region of Israel and Lebanon conflict also. West Gaza Strip and West Bank are the part of the entire Palestine-Israel conflict. On this part, you have the Sinai Peninsula, which was a conflict between Egypt and Israel. Okay, so this is the map. You can see Haifa port is here situated. You have the capital of Israel, Tel Aviv here. You have Jerusalem, जिसको दोनों countries अपना capital claim करती हैं. Palestine also claims Jerusalem as capital, and Israel also claims Jerusalem as capital. But a lot of countries recognize Tel Aviv as the capital of Israel and not Jerusalem. ये चीज आप याद रखिएगा. India also recognizes Tel Aviv as the capital of Israel. Okay, now let's talk about these three areas. So Gaza Strip की बात करते हैं, it is bordered by Israel and Egypt की Sinai Peninsula. ठीक है. So Gaza Strip actually shares boundary with Egypt also. Okay. And with West Bank, it forms the state of Palestine. ठीक है. Hamas has been ruling Gaza Strip since 2006 when it won the election in Gaza Strip. Okay. And Gaza पे के एयर स्पेस और कोस्ट लाइन पे इसराइल की अथॉरिटी है, बट इसराइल जो है गाजा स्ट्रिप पे काफी चीजों को कंट्रोल करता है एंट्री और एग्जिट के मामले में. अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट, द इजिप्ट गाजा बॉर्डर इज मेंटेन्ड बाय इजिप्ट. व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट वेस्ट बैंक, इट इज अ लैंडलॉक्ड टेरिटरी. ठीक है. इसराइल और जॉर्डन बॉर्डर करते हैं इसको ईस्ट वेस्ट से. एंड डेड सी इज ऑल्सो पार्ट ऑफ द बाउंड्री. ठीक है. जेरूसलम का एक सेक्शन वेस्ट बैंक के अंदर है, एक सेक्शन जेरूसलम का वेस्ट बैंक के बाहर है. ठीक है. वेस्ट बैंक इज गवर्न बाय फतह. ठीक है. विच वॉज नोन एज पैलेस्टीनियन नेशनल लिबरेशन मूवमेंट. अब इसका नाम फतह है. एंड फतह गवर्न्स द वेस्ट बैंक. ऑन द अदर हैंड, व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट जेरूसलम, you know Jerusalem is a very important city when we talk about the Abrahamic religions of the world. ठीक है. Judaism, Christianity and Islam. ठीक है. इसकी हम स्पेसिफिकली अभी नेक्स्ट स्लाइड में बात करेंगे कि हाउ जेरूसलम इज सो इम्पोर्टेंट फॉर ऑल ऑफ दीज थ्री रिलीजन्स. ओके. ठीक है. जेरूसलम के बहुत सारे डिस्ट्रिक्ट्स हैं, बट आपको पता चाहिए जेरूसलम जो है एक प्लेट्यू पे सिचुएटेड है इन द जूडियन माउंटेन्स. ओके. एंड इट इज इन द सेंटर ऑफ इसराइल और बहुत सारे पैलेस्टीनियन टेरिटरीज से बॉर्डर्ड भी है ये. ओके. इजरायली गवर्नमेंट जो है वो जेरूसलम से ऑपरेट तो करती है, बट बहुत सारे कंट्री जेरूसलम को इजराइल का कैपिटल नहीं मानते. बट यू ऑल्सो नीड टू नो दैट द नेसेट, विच इज द पार्लियामेंट ऑफ इजराइल एंड द प्रेसिडेंट एंड प्राइम मिनिस्टर रेसिडेंस, ठीक है, आर all three of them are situated in Jerusalem. But the embassies of a lot of countries, most of the countries, ठीक है, embassies are situated in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. तो इजराइल तो क्लेम करती है जेरूसलम को अपना कैपिटल, बट बहुत सारी कंट्रीज जेरूसलम नहीं मानती, इंक्लूडिंग इंडिया. ठीक है. इस चीज को मैं एम्फसाइज कर रहा हूं. अब हम बात करें तो व्हाट हैज हैपेंड, व्हिच वाज द लास्ट एम्पायर टू रूल this area. It was the obviously Arabian Empire, the Umar. So Umar होने के बाद यहाँ पर obviously a lot of Islamic population lived prosperely. But what happened? That the Jews started spreading this entire idea that historically there was a kingdom of Israel, okay, here, and you had the Temple Mount here. So this land is basically this land actually is an ancestral homeland. ठीक है. Israel, the kingdom of Israel. Okay, Solomon. So a lot of people started propagating this idea that we should reclaim this ancestral land, and this started as a Zionist movement. ठीक है. इस land को बोला गया the kingdom of Zion, and Zionist movement was started, and two people specifically were responsible for this. First was the Jew writer Leon Pinsker, who wrote a book called Auto-Emancipation. And he said that Jews should get their ancestral homeland of Zion or Israel back. And Zionism की start 1891 में यहाँ से हुई. ठीक है. 1897 में a lot of Israelis, Jews started the World Zionist Organization, and that advocated for Jewish homeland in Palestine. ठीक है. And this was also spearheaded by another person called Theodor Herzl. Theodor Herzl convened the first Zionist Congress in 1897 in Basel, Switzerland, and जहाँ पर World Zionist Organization की foundation हुई, and it said कि all the Jews should go back to Palestine, they should buy land there, and they should start residing there. Okay, and this will be the starting of what was known as Alaya. Alaya was illegal Jewish immigration, and Alayas जो हुए थे वो 5 waves में हुए थे. So first, second, fourth, third, fourth, and fifth Alayas happened, where Jewish people started immigrating back to Palestine, started purchasing their lands, and started settling in. And this started into tension being between Jewish settlers and the Arab population. But in the backdrop of all of this, World War One started, and when the World War One started, यहाँ पर Jews saw an opportunity. They helped the Allies, funded the Allies, okay, helped the Allies in multiple manners, especially UK. They helped UK a lot, and instead of that, basically they asked for favors like this. And one of the favors they were able to cash was with the British Foreign Secretary Arthur Balfour, where Arthur Balfour sent a Balfour Declaration to Lord Rothschild, who was the leader of the British Jewish community, where Arthur Balfour promised that Britain will create a Jewish homeland in Palestine because Jewish population has helped, okay, the country a lot in the World War, and that was the starting point of it. And then 1918 में, ठीक है, Jewish Legion. The Jewish Legion is a group, ठीक है, जहां पर Zionist volunteers mostly members थे, ठीक है. That Jewish Legion helped UK in conquering Palestine. So Britain captured Palestine and made it their colony, or you can say administrative region. And this was the starting point of Jews getting that realization that they can claim their ancestral homeland of Israel. On the other hand, this was very worrying for the traditional and the local population of Palestine, the Islamic population of Palestine, and they got very worried. What is happening? Okay. Now moving on, what started happening? A lot of series of events started happening slowly and slowly. तो क्या हुआ? Allies ने लेवांट को कैप्चर कर लिया. अब लेवांट क्या है? This is the entire Eastern Mediterranean region, जिसको हम लेवांट बोलते हैं. So लेवांट में the entire Palestine comes. ठीक है. Lebanon also comes. Parts of Syria also comes. ठीक है. इराक का पार्ट आता है. इसमें थोड़े पार्ट्स जो है आपके सऊदी अरेबिया के भी आते हैं. So उस पार्ट को ना, जो ईस्टर्न मेडिटेरेनियन के पार्ट जो है कवर्ड, उसको हिस्टोरिकली लेवांट बोलते थे. ठीक है. So सिलाय पैलेस्टीन campaign was part of those campaigns, जिसके थ्रू allies took control of this entire region. लेवांट पे पूरा कंट्रोल मिल गया. ठीक है. अब क्यों मिलेगा इस पे कंट्रोल? यहाँ क्यों आई यूके? यहाँ क्यों आई फ्रांस? यहाँ allies क्यों आए? बिकॉज यहाँ पर कौन था? यहाँ पर था ऑटोमन एम्पायर, which was against the allies in the First World War. ऑटोमन एम्पायर जो था, ये सेंट्रल पावर्स का पार्ट थे. तो ऑटोमन एम्पायर के अगेंस्ट अटैक करने के बाद इनको एक्सक्यूज मिल गया कि सिनाई पैलेस्टीन कैंपेन को हम कंटिन्यू करते हैं. ठीक है. इस्लामिक इन्फ्लुएंस को इस एरिया से कम करते हैं और हम और ज्यादा कॉलोनीज इकट्ठा करते हैं. ठीक है. सो आफ्टर द लेवांट वाज कैप्चर्ड, ठीक है, बाय द एलाइज, लेवांट को स्पेसिफिकली पैलेस्टीन को आफ्टर कैप्चरिंग फ्रांस एंड इंग्लैंड ने अपने बीच में डिवाइड कर लिया. एंड अंडर दैट अग्रीमेंट पैलेस्टीन केम टू ब्रिटिश कंट्रोल. एंड यहां पर ब्रिटिश स्टैब्लिश द मैंडेटरी पैलेस्टीन. सो पैलेस्टीन जो है, द मैंडेटरी करंट डे ऑफ पैलेस्टीन, द करंट पैलेस्टीन टेरिटरी was formed by the agreement called the Sykes-Picot Agreement of 1916. ठीक है. Sykes-Picot Agreement of 1916 basically distributed the captured area of Levant between France and British, the captured area of Sinai Peninsula between France and British, and the current form of Palestine came into being by the Sykes-Picot Agreement. इसके अलावा क्या हुआ? You also saw the formation of a very important armed force of Jews called the Haganah. Haganah is a very important, was actually a very important Jewish armed force. ठीक है. By the way, Haganah was disbanded after Israel declared their independence, and Haganah was integrated into Israeli Defense Force in 1948. ठीक है. But all of this happening had obviously led into a lot of worry amongst the population of Palestine, and that led into the first Arab revolt in 1936 to 1939. Okay, and it was launched as a reaction of Jewish immigration. Okay, और यहाँ पर जब revolt हुआ तो British security force ने और Zionist militias like Haganah, both of them combined to suppress the revolt down. But a lot of people were killed. Several hundred British people and several hundred Jews were killed. But more than that, more than 5,000 Arabs were killed, and more than 14,000 Arabs were wounded, and more than 12,000 Arabs were sent behind bars. This led to UK realizing, okay, this is becoming an issue, and we have to stop the Jewish influx in Palestine. हमें ये कंट्रोल करना पड़ेगा, वरना एक और अरब रिवॉल्ट आ सकता है. And to reduce this influx of Jewish population in Palestine, British passed the White Paper of 1939. अब यहाँ पर क्या हुआ? ब्रिटिश ने अचानक क्या किया? बेसिकली यहाँ पर पाला पलट लिया, and that led to now conflict between British and Jewish militia. Okay, so this is a very important turning point, because now Jews who were supporting British in all of their conflicts and all of their annexations, now they are against British because British had passed a white paper. And this is the point which will basically be a turning point in declaration of Israel as an independent nation. So what happened? Now, since this white paper has been signed, now the Jewish militia had to look for an alternative way to get into the country, right? So what they started doing, the Jewish insurgent groups and Haganah and all, they started getting Jews from the rest of the Europe illegally to Palestine, and that was known as AILET. ठीक है, इस particular movement को और इस particular initiative को AILET बोलते हैं. Okay. However, most of the Jews which were being brought against the white paper, because white paper had put on limits कि आप ला नहीं सकते, अब हागना वगैरह ला रहे थे. So most of the refugees got arrested while they were attempting to enter Palestine. Most of them were trying to do it from the sea route, and that led to more escalation towards British of the Jewish. तो ये insurgency चलती रही 1946 आ गया, 1947 आ गया, and finally Britain basically gave up. In 1947 में anyway they were trying to decolonize a lot of territories, so Britain said UN को responsibility देते हैं इसकी. अब यूएन ने क्या किया? यूएन ने एक प्लान बनाया जिसका नाम था यूएन पार्टीशन प्लान फॉर पैलेस्टीन, एंड द रेजोल्यूशन नंबर इज इंपॉर्टेंट. इसका रेजोल्यूशन नंबर याद रखिएगा. इट वाज रेजोल्यूशन 181. अंडर दिस रेजोल्यूशन 181, द यूएन वोटेड दैट पैलेस्टीन शुड बी स्प्लिट इन टू पार्ट्स, Jewish state and Arab state. But the problem is the population of Jews in Palestine was only 1/3, but they were getting 55% of the total land. And against this, the Arab League and the Arab High Committee of Palestine, ठीक है, rejected this entire plan, ठीक है, and protested against this plan. ठीक है. अब इसके बाद क्या होगा? So ये इजिप्ट के पास सुएज कनाल आ गया, ठीक है, very very importantly. But इसके बाद क्या हुआ? Because there is now a potential of another attack. इजिप्ट, जॉर्डन, सीरिया ने क्या किया? म्यूचुअल डिफेंस पैक्ट साइन कर लिए कि there can be another attack by Israel, or what we can do, we can attack Israel in themselves. Okay? And this was followed by a 6-day war, where exactly the latter happened. June 1967 mein, this mutual defense pact got triggered when Egypt, Jordan and Syria attacked Israel preemptively. Okay? So because now there is a mutual defense pact that gave an excuse to Israel to attack the Sinai Peninsula. क्योंकि इन तीनों कंट्रीज ने एक म्यूचुअल डिफेंस पैक्ट साइन किया था, और इसके बाद क्या हुआ? आफ्टर दिस डिफेंस पैक्ट वाज साइन, इजिप्शियन प्रेसिडेंट जो थे अब्दुल गमार नसर, he made a lot of maneuvers. So what he tried doing, he tried extending the boundary of the Sinai Peninsula. He tried getting the control of the Sinai Peninsula, and that led Israel ठीक है, to attack Sinai Peninsula. And when Israel attacked Sinai Peninsula, ठीक है, the defense pact got triggered. डिफेंस में कौन आए? यहाँ पर डिफेंस में आए सीरिया, जॉर्डन और इजिप्ट. बट इजराइल ने तीनों पे एक साथ अटैक किया. And Israel was the superior army at that point of time. Israel got the entire Sinai Peninsula from Egypt. It also got the Gaza Strip from Egypt. It got the West Bank and East Jerusalem from Jordan. And it got the Golan Heights from Syria. ठीक है, पूरा कंट्रोल इनको मिल गया. Okay, so 6-day war ended like this. This was followed obviously by Yom Kippur War. So obviously these three countries had to counter. Okay, so Yom Kippur War happened, also known as the October War, happened when Egypt and Syria launched a two-front attack on Israel because they had lost territory. Egypt had lost the Sinai Peninsula and the Gaza Strip. ठीक है, Syria had lost the Golan Heights. So those sides से attack हुए, two-front attack. Okay, but it was not very successful. Okay, Yom Kippur War क्यों बोलते हैं? Because it coincided, the date coincided with the holiest month of Jewish calendar, which is called the Yom Kippur, and it also coincided with the holiest month of Muslim calendar, which is the Ramzan or the Ramadan. However, this war was not very successful for the aggressors. ना इजराइल को कोई बेनिफिट हुआ, ना इजिप्ट को कोई बेनिफिट हुआ, ना सीरिया को कोई बेनिफिट हुआ. बट इजिप्ट ने उस टाइम पे देयर वाज अ चेंज इन प्रेसिडेंट. तो अनवर अल सदात वाज द प्रेसिडेंट एंड ही डिक्लेयर्ड कि वी हैव वॉन द वॉर सो दैट इजिप्ट एंड सीरिया विल नेगोशिएट हियर विद ओवर द प्रीवियसली सीडेड टेरिटरी. ठीक है, सो नेगोशिएशंस में हेल्प हुई, बट दिस वाज नॉट वेरी डिसाइसिव. व्हाट वाज डिसाइसिव आफ्टर द योम किपुर वॉर 6 years के बाद US brokered a peace deal between Egypt and Israel called the Camp David Accords. 1979 Camp David Accords was the peace treaty signed between Egypt and Israel, brokered by US, where Israel gave Sinai Peninsula back to Egypt. In the exchange, Egypt finally became the first Arabic nation to recognize Israel as a state. Okay, so this is the Yom Kippur War. अब हम आगे चलते हैं. What happened after that on the Palestinian front? ठीक है. So 1987 was the first intifada, जिसको बोलते हैं first revolution against the Israeli government, and more than 1 lakh Palestinians living in West Bank and Gaza rose against the Israeli government. And due to that, a lot of conflict happened. A lot of Palestinians died. A lot of Israeli Defense Forces के members died. And this continued for a long time, before which the Oslo peace process started. So the Oslo peace process started in 1993. A negotiation was agreed between Israel and Palestine. ठीक है, and Israeli government and the PLO, the Palestine Liberation Organization, ठीक है, agreed on a plan that there will be a two-state solution to this entire problem. Okay, so 1993 में Oslo I Accords were signed between the two Israeli government and the Palestinian Liberation Organization. ठीक है, कि वेस्ट बैंक एंड गाजा में Palestinians will govern themselves. ठीक है, Palestinians will recognize the Israeli government. Israeli government will recognize the Palestinian Authority. After that, 1995 में you get to see another accord called the Oslo II Accords, which expanded on the first Oslo Accord, adding provisions basically कि Israel will withdraw from 6 cities which it had captured illegally and 450 towns which it has captured illegally in the West Bank, which was recognized as a territory of Palestine. And they did so. Okay? However, what happened? Ariel Sharon, who was the president of Israel at that point of time, he entered Al-Aqsa Mosque. Okay? Basically indicating that Al-Aqsa Mosque is part of Israel, because when a PM goes to a place, it is indicative of the fact that PM thinks that that place is his territory. And that triggered a lot of people, especially in Palestine, that how you are claiming Al-Aqsa Mosque to be a part of Israel. And that led to the second intifada, which started in the year 2000 and lasted for 5 years. बहुत सारे violent acts हुए, ठीक है, यहाँ पर. And this second intifada, when it ended, a lot of people lost their faith in the Palestinian Liberation Organization. ठीक है कि इजराइल ऐसे एक्ट्स कर रही है और आप बस पीस की बातें कर रहे हो, यू आर नॉट डूइंग एनीथिंग, and that basically led to creation of Hamas. Actually not creation of Hamas, but PLO losing the next election. So 2006 elections, which happened just after the second Intifada, okay, Hamas won that election. So now let's talk about Hamas. It's a Islamist group, military Islamist group, and the second major political party in the region. Right now, Hamas controls the Gaza Strip, okay, and it is designated as a terrorist group by Israel, by US, even by the EU, the UK, and other countries of Europe. It was founded in the late 1980s. जब first Palestinian Intifada हुआ था, तब Hamas came into existence, ठीक है, against Israeli occupation, obviously. And why Hamas came into picture, I have told you basically, PLO was not very satisfying to the needs of Palestinians. It was not going towards armed struggle, and they basically recognized Israel because आपको अगर पता होगा Oslo I Accord में mutual recognition का pact sign हुआ था, and PLO signed that pact recognizing Israel, and this was very offending to a lot of Palestinians. Okay, and second, that it also dropped the armed struggle it was carrying on and said we will solve matters peacefully. It became a part of the both of the Oslo Accords, and that said a lot of things to the Palestinians, that you are ready for a settlement when the entire Palestine is ours. Okay? You are agreeing to a settlement, and that's an unfair settlement, and that basically gave Hamas an opportunity to take political control, and it gained prominence, especially after the Oslo Peace Accords. And hence, it won their first elections in the Gaza Strip in 2006. And since 2006, Hamas has ruled the Gaza Strip as well. Okay? So this is the entire background of the Israel-Palestine conflict. Now, what is India's stance towards Israel? आपको मैं पहले बता दूं, India did not recognize Israel because Israel was a nation based on religion. And we were totally against that because India had gotten divided because of this. Religious basis पे पाकिस्तान बनी थी, और इस कारण से हमारे फ्रीडम फाइटर्स को ये एक्सेप्टेड नहीं था कि रिलीजियस बेसिस पे हम किसी कंट्री को रिकॉग्नाइज करें, एंड दिस इज व्हाई इंडिया डिड नॉट रिकॉग्नाइज इजराइल. इंडिया इवन वोटेड अगेंस्ट इजराइल ज्वाइनिंग यूएन इन 1947, ठीक है, एंड इंडिया recognized Israel in 1950 after Turkey and Iran recognized it. Okay. आफ्टर दैट 1953 में इजराइल को फाइनली हमने कॉन्सुलेट ओपन करने दिया, बट वो भी मुंबई में को ओपन करने दिया, दिल्ली में हमने ओपन नहीं करने दिया. द प्रॉब्लम हैपेंड स्पेशली फॉर पैलेस्टीन्स कॉज वाज व्हेन 1962 में इंडिया चाइना वॉर हुआ. China was the aggressor. The entire world knows China was at wrong, but Arab countries were still neutral. They did not criticize China for their aggression. And that led to India basically getting very upset on the stand of Arab countries, that we are trying to support your stance on Palestine, but you are not recognizing China's threat. And then after 1965 and 1971 में, you showed support to Pakistan, who was the aggressor here, who was at wrong here. And this did not go well with Indians. On the other hand, 1962 and 1965 war में, Israel actually helped India with ammunition and arms. And this is why India grew softer towards Israel, and finally in 1992, India established a full diplomatic relation with Israel. तो बहुत टाइम लगा है इसको अचीव करने में. 1992 में India Israel established full diplomatic relations. Okay, and after that, the trade between India and Israel is very, very big. When we compare India Pakistan, that's not even 1/4 of this. Okay, $7.86 billion का ट्रेड है 2021 में. Okay, TCS, Infosys, विप्रो के ऑफिसेज हैं इजराइल की कैपिटल तेल अवीव में, बिकॉज तेल अवीव जो है, इंडिया तेल अवीव को कैपिटल मानता है। जेरूसलम पे हमेशा इंडिया का स्टांस सेम रहा है, दैट जेरूसलम कैन नॉट बी क्लेम्ड बाय इजराइल बिकॉज जेरूसलम has also been a capital recognized by Palestine. It is a disputed territory, so we ठीक है। सो नाउ तो टेल अवीव हम कैपिटल रिकॉग्नाइज करते हैं, and also you need to know that we are one of the largest importers of weapons from Israel, and we contribute to 40% of Israel's annual arms in exports. ठीक है। So we have a very important relation with Israel in that sense. Okay, I will stop the session here. I will release a part 2 of conflicts, which will be integrated with the second part of our international GK topics, which will be India and other countries ke international relations. We will continue. So the next topic we'll start is the entire conflict scenario going in Africa, and we'll talk about a lot of African countries, but major focus will be on Niger, ECOWAS, Alliance of Sahel states. But apart from this, we'll also talk about Sudan and Gabon. So to start with, let's talk about the entire crisis which has been going on in Niger. पर उससे पहले आप इस कंट्री की ज्योग्राफी समझिए, ठीक है। Now, historically, this area, specifically the border area, the coastal area of ECOWAS members, was known as Gold Coast, and these countries have been historically French colonies. Okay, so starting from Mauritania, Senegal, Guinea-Bissau, Guinea, Sierra Leone, Liberia, Ivory Coast, जिसको कोते d'Ivoire बोलते हैं आप, you have Ghana, you have Togo, you have Benin, you have Nigeria, and then inland में you have Mali and Niger. ठीक है। So these historically have been colonies of France. Okay, and yes, and very importantly, what has happened now, that a lot of countries among these have faced military coups. Okay, and that has basically scared all the countries which are democratic or they are, let's say, authoritarian, which have not seen a military coup happening, and they think that this is becoming a trend in the countries, and they want to deal with these military coups strongly. तो पूरा का पूरा कॉन्फ्लिक्ट जो चल रहा है, माली, बुर्किना फासो और नाइजर, तीनों में मिलिट्री कूज हुए हैं, अगर आप पास्ट के 3-4 साल में देखोगे। अब इकोवॉस के मेंबर्स को लग रहा है ना कि ये मिलिट्री कू वाला ट्रेंड ना हमारे कंट्री में भी स्टार्ट ना हो जाए, सो दे हैव टेकन अ स्टैंड टू बेसिकली टैकल विद दिस मिलिट्री गवर्नमेंट्स। ठीक है, एंड नाइजीरिया हैज इवन थ्रेटेंड ऑफ अ मिलिट्री एक्शन अलोंग विद द अदर मेंबर्स ऑफ ECOWAS. So there is a war-like situation getting formed, and this will be a more serious war than anything else, because multiple countries will get involved here, and entire West Africa can be then surrounded by war-like situations. Okay, तो आप हम डिटेल में देखते हैं कि हुआ क्या है। आपको मैं बता दूं, यहाँ एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट रिवर भी बहती है, विच इज कॉल्ड नाइजर रिवर। नाइजर रिवर के नाम पे ही नाइजर और नाइजीरिया का नाम पड़ा है, बाय द वे। ओके, ठीक है। सो इस साइड पे यू हैव अनदर स्मॉल आइलैंड कॉल्ड काबो वर्दे, ये दिख रहा होगा। ओके, काबो वर्दे वाज आल्सो फ्रेंच कॉलोनी, ठीक है, एंड दे आर ऑब्वियसली सिचुएटेड on these countries are obviously situated east side pe. If you talk about the western side, you have the Atlantic Ocean there, right? These are the West Asian nations, West African nations, my bad. Now let's go topic by topic and discuss each of the things. So what actually happened, that African Union has suspended Niger because the coup which overthrew the democratically elected president of Niger, and the plot was created by Abdur Rahman Chiani. Abdur Rahman Chiani is the leader of the military coup, and he has, with the military, overthrew the president of Niger, Mohammed Bazoum. But the problem here is they are not even letting Mohammed Bazoum leave the country. They have detained the president, and that is a very, very triggering factors for African Union suspending Niger also, and ECOWAS taking a very aggressive stand. How can you do this? How can you arrest the democratically elected president of a country? This is very similar to what has happened in, if you see, in your neighboring country, which is Myanmar, जहां पर मिन ऑन लियांग ने आंग सान सूकी को basically house arrest में डाल रखा है. So it's very similar, but even a level up, that elected representative you have put under detention. So that has led to a lot of countries detesting Niger. Exclusively, not just ECOWAS, but entire African Union also. So Niger के बारे में आपको बता चुका हूँ that it has been named after the river Niger and the capital of Niger is Niamey. Okay, so अब देखो हुआ क्या. So after all of this happened, ECOWAS came out with a statement that we are not afraid of using any military action against these countries, right? And when this happened, this gave a chance to Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. I told you these are the three countries which had military coups recently in their countries. Okay, and they have signed a defense pact कि there is a threat to us by ECOWAS countries. तो हम क्या करते हैं, एक डिफेंस पैक्ट साइन कर लेते हैं, and this pact was known as Liptako-Gurma Charter. So Liptako-Gurma Charter they had signed, and because of signing of this charter, an alliance of Sahel states have come into picture. I will tell you what Sahel is, okay? At the end of this topic, we'll discuss what Sahel actually is. और Sahel में एक बहुत important project भी चल रहा है, वो भी मैं आपको बताऊंगा. But अभी आपको इतना पता होना चाहिए कि these three countries have entered into a defense agreement, just like NATO का जैसे collective defense agreement है ना, वैसे ही Sahel states, alliance of Sahel states is a defense agreement. Okay. Now moving on. ECOWAS के बारे में अगर आपको जानना है तो सबसे पहले आपको पता होना चाहिए ECOWAS is known as CEDEAO in French. Okay, the full form of ECOWAS is very important for you, तो please इसको अच्छे से याद कर लेना. It's economic community. ठीक है, although it might look like a military or any kind of an organization, it's not. It's an economic community of West African states. Economic community. E याद रखना, because E is where CLAT might surprise you. ठीक है? So CEDEAO is the French abbreviation. It's a regional intergovernmental organization. It was established in 1975 through Lagos Treaty. Okay. Can you tell me where is Lagos situated? If you can tell me where is Lagos situated, try and answer that in your mind. I'll just tell you the answer because a lot of people might not Google this answer, but it's very important. Lagos is actually a city in Nigeria. Okay, one of the major cities. And you can say it's the largest city, not the capital, but it's the largest city of Nigeria. ठीक है, नाइजीरिया का कैपिटल जो है that's Abuja, that's the headquarters of ECOWAS. ठीक है, तो लागोस ट्रीटी से ये आया था और हेडक्वार्टर्स इसका अबूजा में है. Both of them are in Nigeria. ECOWAS has 15 countries as members. So Burkina Faso, Niger, ठीक है, Mali, these were members of ECOWAS and now they have been suspended from ECOWAS. ठीक है, ECOWAS से निकाल दिया गया इनको. ठीक है, and now they have signed an alliance of Sahel states. ठीक है, this is the entire background. Now, since African Union has also been mentioned, because this is the body which has suspended Niger, we need to also know about African Union. It's a continental body, obviously. 55 member states हैं Africa के. 2002 में it was launched and it replaced a predecessor organization called the Organization of African Unity, which was founded in 1963. ठीक है, so OAU को replace किया था AU ने. The headquarters of African Union is in Addis Ababa, and when we talk about African Union, it has a structure with a lot of organs in it. So you have the Executive Council, you have an African Union Commission. Apart from that, you have a Peace and Security Council as well. You have a Pan-African Parliament as well. And last but not the least, you also have an Economic, Social and Cultural Council of the African Union. Okay. Apart from this, you also need to know that who is actually the head of the African Union? If you know the answer, you can pause it here and you can just try and write the answer in the comment section below. But let me tell you, दो तीन चीजें अफ्रीकन यूनियन के बारे में आपको पता होना चाहिए. ठीक है. AU was announced in 1999. ऑफिशियली तो 2002 में लॉन्च हुआ था, बट इट वाज अनाउंस्ड इन 1999 इन सर्ते डिक्लेरेशन, SIRTE, सर्ते डिक्लेरेशन, which is a city in Libya, Sirte. ठीक है. So 1999 में it basically called establishment of an African Union, and it was founded in 2001 and officially launched in 2002. Okay. Official languages जो हैं African Union के, that's Arabic, Spanish, French. ठीक है. Portuguese, Spanish, Swahili, and any other African language will also be considered. Okay. Chairperson is Azali Assoumani. Okay. Very important for you to remember that the chairperson is African Union. Chairperson is Azali Assoumani, and he actually was the president of Comoros before. Okay. So Azali Assoumani का नाम याद रखिएगा. Now let's move on and let's talk about two very important incidents again. तो Gabon coup के बारे में बात करते हैं, and then we'll talk about. Now Sudan crisis we'll also talk about. So Gabon के बारे में जब हम बात करते हैं, तो I have told you this is also a French colony. Capital is Libreville. Now what happened in Gabon? The president of Gabon is Ali Bongo Ondimba. Ali Bongo Ondimba was the president of Gabon, but he had a lot of allegations against him of election fraud and corruption, which was put by nobody but the military. Military ही ने accuse किया Ali Bongo को election fraud और corruption के लिए, and because of that, the military coup was launched in Gabon, and the military leader was here, Brice Clotaire Oligui Nguema. So if you remember Brice and Oligui, that will suffice. Okay. So Brice Clotaire Oligui Nguema has replaced Ali Bongo Ondimba, okay, and has successfully staged a military coup and has gained the control of Gabon. Okay. So you can see that how Western African nations are very affected by this trend of military coup. But coming to an exception here, West से हम आते हैं Central East African के पास, and let's talk about the Sudan crisis. Most of you know about this crisis, but we'll cover this briefly and quickly. So Sudan के बारे में historically, if we talk about Sudan, the capital of Sudan is Khartoum. Most of you know that, I hope. It was the largest African nation by area. Okay. Before, it was separated into two nations. South Sudan emerged from it, okay, and that led Algeria becoming the new largest African nation. So Sudan, before it was divided into two countries, was the largest, but now it is Algeria. ये याद रखिएगा, ठीक है? And this separation, if you can tell me which year South Sudan got separated from Sudan, if you know the answer, please mention it in the comment section below. अब हम बात करते हैं how this entire crisis happened. ठीक है? But before that, let me tell you a couple of things, very, very important things. 1956 was the year when Sudan got independence, right? सुडान की हिस्ट्री के बारे में हम थोड़े डिटेल में और आगे डिस्कस करेंगे. I have put a very important infographic for you for Gabon and Sudan, so we'll discuss through that also. But coming to the current point, okay, 1956 में it got independence, okay, and South Sudan got separated from it in 2011. ठीक है? Omar al-Bashir was the dictator from 1989 till 2019. 30 साल की dictatorship Omar al-Bashir की थी, but he committed a lot of human rights abuses. Okay, he also was responsible for an ethnic genocide in the region of Darfur, Darfur. Darfur is a southwestern region in Sudan. Okay, and that genocide went for 17 to 18 years, and it has resulted to almost deaths of 4 lakh peoples. Okay, and Omar al-Bashir is being prosecuted in the International Criminal Court for this. Okay? So you need to remember this. Sudan was an Islamic nation, but 2020 mein, it became a secular nation. Okay, and now let's talk about what happened. So obviously, because of Omar al-Bashir's incompetency, okay, a military coup happened, and यहाँ पर Sudan's army and rapid support forces, both of them combined here to remove Omar al-Bashir. Okay, and both were to come into power. However, दो चीजों पे disagreement हुआ. First, rapid support forces was a paramilitary force. It was not a part of the army. So the plan was कि rapid support force को RSF को ना सुडान के आर्मी में integrate करना है. But the leaders of the Sudanese army and RSF were not agreeing on when to do it. First, second, also army को civilian oversight में आप कब रखोगे? Because army is ruling independently. Okay, when will army be accountable? इस टाइमलाइन पे भी दोनों लीडर्स के डिसएग्रीमेंट हुए. सो द लीडर्स बेसिकली आर, इनका नाम याद रखिएगा, लास्ट वर्ड भी याद रखोगे तो इट्स मोर देन इनफ. इट्स बुरहान एंड डगालो. ठीक है, अब्दुल फतह अल बुरहान वाज द हेड ऑफ द आर्मी, एंड आरएसएफ का लीडर जो था, हु वाज द डेप्यूटी ऑन द काउंसिल ऑफ द मिलिट्री, वाज मोहम्मद हमदन डगालो, जिनका निकनेम हेमदती भी है. So Abdul Fateh Al Burhan versus Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, nicknamed Hemeti. इन दोनों के बीच में पूरी की पूरी क्राइसिस हुई, and this actually triggered the conflict in Sudan, where both of these groups started fighting against each other for succession. And इसमें काफी लोग फंसे. इंडिया के काफी सारे citizens सुडान में रहते थे, and specifically focus went on a tribe called the Hakki Pikki tribe, which are actually one of the most important tribes of Karnataka. ठीक है, these have been forest dwellers and they sell forest produce, especially spices and herbal oils. ठीक है, and India में तो करते ही हैं, but they sell these spices and herbal oils after going abroad also. So 180 members of Hakki Pikki tribe were actually trapped. So to rescue Indian citizens and NRIs, India launched the Operation Kaveri. Operation Kaveri में 2C-130J ट्रांसपोर्ट एयरक्राफ्ट, जिनको हरक्यूलिस एयरक्राफ्ट भी बोलते हैं हम, ठीक है, उनको यूज किया गया था. और ये जेडा से टेक ऑफ करके सुडान में जाते थे, वहां से लोगों को पिक करके फिर जेडा लाते थे, और फिर जेडा में INS सुमेधा, ठीक है, विच इज एन इंडियन नेवल शिप, उन पे इन लोगों को डाला गया, विच वॉज सिचुएटेड ऑन द पोर्ट ऑफ सुडान ऑल्सो. एंड फ्रॉम देयर, थ्रू दीज थ्री थिंग्स, 2C-130J transport aircrafts and INS Sumedha, people were brought back to India under Operation Kaveri. Got it? Now let's talk thoda more historical, मतलब बहुत historical नहीं, but contemporary in case. How many military coups has Africa seen? Now moving on to the last slide of today, we will be talking about Gabon also through pictures. देखो Gabon यहाँ पर है. If you go above Gabon, you will find the countries of Niger, and ये फिर इधर से ऐसे turn लोगे तो ECOWAS के countries start हो जाएंगे. See this boundary? This is all the ECOWAS countries. So this is Nigeria here. Gabon is on the lower side. You can see this globe for more clearer picture. Gabon got independence in 1960. It was also a French colony, very, very importantly. Okay. So it was also a French colony. एंड बहुत सारे मिलिट्री बेसेस हैं फ्रांस और यूएस के गबॉन में. अब यहाँ भी टाइमलाइन आप थोड़ा समझो. अली बोंगो भी ना बहुत टाइम से रूल कर रहा है. सो अली बोंगो वाज द सन ऑफ ओमार बोंगो. ठीक है, ठीक है. ओमार बोंगो ruled Gabon since 1967. He died in 2009, and then Omar Bongo was replaced by Ali Bongo. ठीक है, अली बोंगो became the president in 2009. He ruled till 2023. ठीक है, थर्ड टर्म था 2023 में. He won the third term. However, a lot of curfews he imposed, a lot of internet shutdown he imposed, and that sparked a lot of criticism and protest. And opposition ने फिर यहाँ पर claim किया कि election fraud भी हुआ है, and then that triggered the military coup. Okay, so this is very, very important for you all. So this is it with the international conflicts. I hope this session was productive for all of you. Okay, we'll stop here and we'll see you in the next video, where we'll deal with international relations between India and multiple important countries. Okay, if you like this video, please follow us on @DailyGK updates okay, on Telegram. And you can also subscribe and like the video. You can share this video with people who might think it will be important for them for the exam, or who might get some help from this video. Thank you for listening to me, and happy preparation and best of luck for your exams.